Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever the case may be. In this case, it is 10:45 p.m., and I'm recording this on my iPhone using Boss Jock Studio. And it's quite late, so it's late for the daily show today. What would this be? This would be 272 for the 12th of November of NaPodPoMo. And not too much to add here, just wanted to make sure I got an episode out. Had a big party yesterday at the house, and just now finishing up the dishes of all things, and decided to take a little break and come out here to the garage where it's a little quieter, but maybe not too much. I don't know, I'm kind of walking around, so but this does prove that you can indeed just podcast from an iPhone. May not be wonderful, but it does work. So, and the quieter the environment and the closer you get to the microphone, the better. But anyway, I go over all that on my other podcast, Podcast Help Desk. In fact, episode 102 is all about getting the equipment to make a podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed the rerun I did yesterday, the Walking with the White Squirrels. I don't exactly remember what I talked about, other than the fact that we do have white squirrels around here, and and I know that's one of my favorite episodes. I think I replayed it one other time a couple of years ago. So anyway, one of these days I'm going to get out and take another walk. And I do like, mobile podcasting. I've done that several times, as you know. And I got the setup for it. Not necessarily this iPhone. I mean, it works, but this isn't the ideal setup. But that's all right. It does work. Well, let's see what else happened today. Checked in on the International Order of Crazies net. Do that every Sunday morning at 10:30 Eastern Time. In the morning on Sundays, if you have a shortwave radio that gets single sideband, or you can get on to websdr.org and find a receiver, preferably somewhere in the eastern half of the country, and you can listen to me and a bunch of my friends and my dad and a few other people talking ham radio on 7185 kilohertz or 7.185 megahertz, and that's in the 40 meter band for those of you that are hams. And we get on there, kind of do a round robin net, they call it, where guy down in Ohio, a friend of mine, Keith, starts it and calls for check-ins, and then he sort of arranges it so that most likely we'll hear each other, at least the one before and after everybody, and we just pass it around for a couple of rounds, and normally talk about the weather and what's going on, normal ham stuff. So anyway, it's usually 10 or 12 guys in there every Sunday. Although next Sunday, coming up a week from today, I forget the exact date that is, I guess that would be the 19th, maybe, something like that. Anyway, that Sunday probably won't hear too much, because a good majority of the people are going to be in Fort Wayne, Indiana for a ham fest down there. I'm not going, and a couple of the other guys aren't. So you might hear a couple of us get on Sunday morning for that, but won't be as robust as usual. But anyway, kind of interesting. 7145 kilohertz or 7.185 at 10:30 Eastern time. So figure that out. And like I said, WebSDR is kind of cool. It's SDR stands for Software Defined Radio, and people put them online, and you can dial up whatever frequency you want to dial up, depending on what radio they have and what antennas they have. Your mileage may vary, but it's kind of cool if you ever want to listen to shortwave and you don't have a shortwave receiver and a bunch of wire in the air. You can just dial up one of these radios. They can have so many simultaneous users. It's it's really quite cool. I just discovered that a few weeks ago and actually do a little listening on that from time to time. It's kind of neat. Like during one of the nets there on a 20-meter net that happens at 9:30 in the morning, a lot of times we can't hear the stations that are in close. I can hear California and Texas and Florida, whatever, but I can't hear, other people in Michigan or Ohio or, 20 meters is usually longer at that time of the day. Weird propagation thing, but anyway, so I'll use WebSDR to try to hear, people that I wouldn't normally hear, and it's kind of cool to hear yourself because it has about a 2-second delay at times, so if that doesn't bother you too bad, you can actually listen to hear what your signal sounds like, on a little bit of a delay. Usually on 20 meters, I'll do a California station or Arizona. There's one in Sedona, Arizona that's pretty good, and I'll listen on that for the guys that are too close for me to hear directly on the radio. So I guess that's cheating, but it works. So anyway, enough of this. I want to see if I can figure out how to post this. It's been a while since I've done an iPhone-only episode, but this has been 272 of Mike Dell's World for the 12th day of NaPodPoMo, which is also known as November. Catch me tomorrow.